Hi, I'm your host, Dave Kemp, and this is Future Ear Radio. Each episode, we're breaking down one new thing, one cool new finding that's happening in the world of hearables, the world of voice technology. How are these worlds starting to intersect? How are these worlds starting to collide? What cool things are going to come from this intersection of technology? Without further ado, let's get on with the show. All right, so we're joined here today with Katherine Prescott. Katherine was on the last episode, and so this is a part two. We're kind of building on the conversation that we had. For those that didn't listen to the last episode, just a quick recap of who Katherine is. Katherine is the founder and editor of Voice Brew, which is a daily email newsletter that helps people to get the most out of Alexa. I believe you started back in January, and since then you've grown to like 30,000 email subscribers, which is pretty insane. And just yesterday, you announced that you have an Alexa skill too. So if you go to the Alexa skill store and you search Voice Brew, you'll find her Alexa skill there. Again, kind of getting the most out of your Alexa device through her tips of the day and stuff like that. So Katherine, welcome back. And I just want to jump right into this. So last time we spoke, we talked about, the Canalys report, this explosion in multimodal, and sort of the implications that are derived from that. This idea of like, now that you have a screen with these devices, how does this change the whole dynamic? And I know that we both have a lot of thoughts on some of the ways that this might evolve, but let's start with where we left off, which is this idea of the chicken and the egg, right? It's like, if we have, only so many devices that have this multimodal screen on them, is there a lot of incentive yet for developers to start really building true multimodal experiences? So I'll kick it over to you and let you just kind of build on that.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. And very excited to be here to continue the conversation. So what you just said is exactly right. I think ultimately Amazon is clearly focused on creating high quality multimodal experiences for all of the new owners of all these multimodal devices that were sold in Q3. And Amazon wants that multimodal experience to be really good also, to draw more people to buy multimodal devices. And you might be questioning right now, well, why are they so focused on multimodal devices? And I think that the reason is that they believe that when Alexa can show you things and tell you things, users can have a much higher quality experience. So clearly, Amazon right now is trying to encourage the skill developer, skill creator community to develop multimodal skills through various competitions and things like that. But the challenge is, as you alluded to, Dave, that if you're a skill developer, it's going to take you, a bunch more time and resources to build an Alexa skill that's optimized for the Echo Show. And when not that many people have the Echo Show, you're questioning whether it makes sense to make that investment. And so what we're starting to see is that Amazon, not surprisingly, is taking things into their own hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I think you're right. I mean, I think that this is like, let's start with from this notion of Amazon taking it into their own hands. I think one of the most interesting things that has come about recently in the whole Alexa sphere is this whole new partnership that they have with Discovery, who's the parent company of the Food Network. And so they've created this new partnership, which is going to enable a app that's, I think it's available on mobile phones as well, but it's really catered to the Echo device, the Echo Show devices, the multimodal Amazon Echo devices. And, so this Food Network Kitchen, that's what it's called, I think is really interesting because it sort of blends all the unique things of a smart display, and it sort of leverages them all together in a really interesting way. So for those that don't know, this is basically a service that's going to enable like on-demand cooking. So you can think of like Rachel Ray or Bobby Flay. They would be sort of presenting almost like a Peloton type experience where you get these on-demand cooking shows where you follow along. So you would probably have to have all the all the necessary ingredients and the tools for the prep. But like, it's like, okay, let's get started. So we're going to start by quartering the pork shoulder or something like that. And I think this is just fascinating because it allows for you to view things in real time, but also view videos so that you can imagine. Like for me, I'm not like the greatest cook, so it would be super helpful to literally, it's like taking the recipe book and Alexifying it in all the best ways possible so that you can literally watch a tutorial that's voice enabled, because again, your hands are occupied. So you can say, stop, like, wait, what? Rewind. What did they do there? You can ask questions pertinent to the information in the video. Wait, what ingredient am I supposed to be using here? So I think like this is one of those moments in my eyes where we really are starting to see like, aha, so that's where this is going, right? Like you can use your voice, it's on demand, it's playing a video for you. You kind of think about that and you're like, wait, that really doesn't exist today. Like I can't do that with my phone really. And let alone, why would I have, my phone might be in my pocket, or my phone might be charging in my bedroom. And so like this stationary device that's in the kitchen that's specifically geared around applications in the kitchen that have a video, I think are really, really interesting.
Absolutely. I agree with everything that you just said, Dave. And, just to sort of really hit the nail on the head, I think that this type of experience makes a ton of sense for the Echo Show and smart displays in general, because there is such a deep fit between multimodal voice first tech and the content being delivered, in this case, cooking content. And said differently, it's a lot better when you get recipe instructions that you can
Hmm.
interact with your voice, see videos, read, see and hear the recipe steps, get shopping lists
Hmm.
delivered on command. That's a really cool feature of this Food Network kitchen that people don't talk a ton about. That is way better, as you said, Dave, than just reading a recipe on your iPad or laptop. And just, to follow this, you're also seeing, it's logical that a focus is on content for the kitchen.
Hmm.
This makes a lot of sense because so many people keep their Echo Show devices in the kitchen. And this does seem to be part of a trend. We saw, much more recently, another announcement of a partnership with Tasty to make their recipes available via Alexa on the Echo Show as well.
I love that. And I think like you said something there that really caught my attention, which is like the recipe book, right? And so where this really shines is when it's performing like three jobs to be done at once, right? So like if I'm cooking a meal, I need to have the recipe of what I need to use to cook it. And then I might need a video to show me actually how to cook it. Right. And so because this device can do all in one, like one of the really cool things about Food Network Kitchen is that you can ask questions, and rather than like stopping the video, if you say like, how many pounds of chicken do I need? It will actually just do, for certain queries, it's going to just do like a little pop-up display that will say like 2 pounds. And so it's fusing together all of these different disparate things that you ultimately really need as a novice cook like myself to cook a good meal, like just like you said, and it really plays into Amazon's grand plan, especially as they have like their retail grocery offering. You can imagine where it's just like, all right, I'm looking at the things that are available to cook on Food Network Kitchen. I want this and I want this week. Boom. I get those delivered to me, all the ingredients that I need necessary, and then I'm ready to go, whether I'm watching in real time with Bobby Flay, which is like hilarious to me, or if I'm watching a recorded video of Martha Stewart. You know what I mean? Like, I just think this is such a interesting way to finally start to fuse together everything that makes both a voice assistant and a smart display so unique all in one.
Absolutely. It's also great for recipe discovery. That's another one
I
of
love
those
that.
jobs to be done too.
I totally agree. So, is there any? I mean, obviously, we could talk about use case after use case that we see, but I think this is a really good example of how this kind of changes the dynamic. And I think the other thing that this helps to do is that chicken and the egg thing that you made mention of. It's like, as Amazon starts to take some of these things into their own hands, what it will maybe do is it will encourage more people to buy the Echo Show 5, which will then create more incentive, you know what I mean, for the developers to then start to develop multimodal skills, because they know, they're like, well, there's a ton of Echo Show 5s being built into the kitchen. And just like you said with like the tasty thing, it's like I wouldn't be surprised if we see more and more of the, very cooking centric, kitchen centric apps, if you will, or just services, starting to think about this a little bit different. And I think that it's really amplified and it's accelerated by what Amazon has done.
Definitely. And, I think it's just to sort of, wrap this up in a bow. I really do think that the usefulness of the Echo Show 5 and now the new Echo Show 8, which recently came
Totally.
out, which is an 8-inch Echo Smart display. I think it's priced at about $130. So bit more expensive than the Echo Show 5 at $90, but a lot less expensive than the Echo Show second generation, which is still very much the premium device that's at $230. But in order for people to really buy these devices, the experiences need to be really good. And it's exciting to see this type of investment by Amazon to make the multimodal experience really high quality. It's also a good template for others to follow in terms of creating multimodal optimized voice experiences. And you've seen them do this on the device side. They came out with the Alexa microwave, the sort of line about it was, look, this is a way for them to show device makers how they could incorporate Alexa into a device, like a kitchen device, like a microwave.
Hmm.
In some ways, this Food Network kitchen integration it's like saying to the whole skilled developer community, like, look, here's a great example of what a high quality multimodal skill looks like.
Yeah, totally. And I think, like, in the essence of time, we don't need to go into all the different scenarios in which you can envision this. Like, I think we could have a full conversation around, I have an Echo Show 5 in my office. And I think like what Facebook Portal displayed a little bit is like this idea of chat, like video chat that's really on demand. So we could have a whole conversation around like, basically having, especially in like bigger organizations, rather than always having to like go and have a conference meeting, if you're on a team of like say 4 or 5, you could literally just have a a quick chat through that device. And again, it's like, well, you could just send a Skype meeting or a Zoom meeting, and it's like, but this is so effortless. You just say start a meeting. You know what I mean? Like, and that's where I think this is getting at, is it's not necessarily to say that like, I could do all this, like the whole Food Network kitchen, maybe aside from the on-demand stuff. But I could pull up a YouTube video and I could watch how to do this, and I could pull up a recipe book. But again, it's like when you start to combine these things all together and add elements into each, so that when you're watching a video, you can ask a question about the ingredients, that's where this dynamic really starts to take on a whole new life and be something that we really haven't seen before.
Absolutely. And I do think that, it's always fun to talk about, and I particularly enjoy our conversations on these kinds of topics, Dave. But, longer term, how does multimodal change things? What do you think?
I mean, I think that as we've mentioned, throughout these 2 episodes, like I think adding a screen, just like you said, what it starts to do is it changes the way that people think about these things. And because it really is a voice first device as opposed to a voice only device, what you start to do is it adds to this effect of people getting conditioned to just think differently about how they communicate with their device. Like, I can't tell you how many times since I've been using my Echo Show 5 for the past year, that now with my phone, it really is, it's the Brett Kinsella training wheel thing, where you start to think like, wait, why am I retrieving the information that way? Like, I use Google on my phone all the time with my voice now. I just search through voice searching. And it's just that I think that's all a byproduct of this, like, being conditioned over time with using either voice only devices or voice first devices, where you start to look at every device as a voice device.
Definitely. One area that, one of my favorite use cases for Alexa, and I've definitely said this before, is buying stuff on Amazon. I buy everything on Amazon with Alexa, and I find it to be such a time saver. I have had an Echo Show second generation for a long time in my kitchen. And so that's certainly made things easier. And I really believe that, as smart display proliferation ticks up and more people have, the Echo Shows of the world, that we could see a really big uptick in voice commerce.
Mm-hmm.
The big difference between a smart display and a smart speaker when it comes to buying things is that smart displays let consumers browse products they want to buy. Whereas a
Yep.
smart speaker, you got to listen to Alexa read out product details on a few different things, and nobody wants to do that. So, I think there's a world where, every e-commerce site, will need to develop an Alexa skill for the new Echo Show if they want to capture some piece of this, coming voice commerce wave.
It's so funny, like, we to the audience now, like we initially sort of just when we came together and said, hey, let's do a podcast together, I was like, let's do 2 episodes, one on multimodal, and then we'll kind of like build on that and talk about some of the use cases. And literally now I'm thinking, let's do a 3rd episode on voice commerce, because you're so right. And I think that multimodal is going, I remember this was a big part of the reason why I believe you, myself, and some others were really bullish on smart displays is I think it really does serve as a catalyst to voice commerce. So we'll wrap for today, but I think, we might have another discussion here shortly around this idea of multimodal and voice commerce. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll chat with you next time. Cheers. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Future Ear Radio. For more content like this, just head over to futureear.co, where you can read all the articles that I've been writing these past few years on the worlds of voice technology and hearables and how the two are beginning to intersect. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll chat with you next time.